What is good, fellas? Wow, we're all wearing black today, man.
Got the
Excited
uniform.
to what do you say?
Got the uniform on, ready to rock, baby.
Damn, ready to rock, dude. Adam was up early this morning talking AI and what was that space in alpha agent spaces?
Alpha agents. Do you got me okay? Because is my sound working all right?
Yeah, I can hear
Yeah,
you.
it's like crazy, man. My whatever. Tech, man, it's hard sometimes. But yeah, that was an alpha space. It's so interesting. I mean, we see it all the time, but people talk about white papers, talking about building, you know, It just shows what we have out here with Agent Hustle, like that it's live and in the field and you can use it today is awesome, because it's just not the standard. Like most stuff is still in the idea stage.
That it definitely is, man. But what's not in the idea stage is Billy Bets, man. I'm really excited to have this conversation. Chris and I, born and raised out here in Las Vegas. So basically, you could say we were born in the sports book. We both worked in the industry on the strip for over a decade. Very familiar with the industry, love it as much. We do have BC Bread, who's on stage, as well as one of the founders, Bunchu Bet. So first and foremost, BC Bread, what's good, bro? Good to connect again.
Yeah, GM gang. Yeah, it's dope to be here. Excited to dive in and kind of give everybody the updates on what we've been cooking, because it's been a crazy week over in the Billy Bets box,
Yeah, man. I've been diving in, looking into all of your guys' like version 2 updates and different parts of the AI as well. I'd love to pass it over and also say hello to Bunchu Bet, one of the founders, man. I really appreciate you for giving us some of your time. I'm sure you're just absolutely busy.
GM, not as busy as BC Bread. He's the chef in the kitchen. I'm just the guy that writes the recipes. So happy to be here. Appreciate the time and interest, and looking forward to talking.
Yeah, let's go. Absolutely, guys. Yeah, always excited to talk with other builders in the space, especially in the AI space. It's really so small. There's really no giants, as we were talking with the Think Agent people yesterday. No giant conglomerates like you see over in kind of centralized version. And sports betting side seems to be much smaller. So I'd love to hear kind of the initial, founding story of how this all started. I would assume, Joe, you're one of the co-founders. Tell us a little bit about your background in crypto. I guess even sports betting. That's probably where more of your expertise is, and how you came to creating Billy Bets.
Yeah, great question. So I have, I would say, a very unique origin story that has led me to this point. So I've been a sports bettor, gosh, as long as I can remember. And it actually is the thing that brought me to crypto in 2017. So back in that time, there wasn't like the regulated market for DraftKings and FanDuels and stuff you see today. And you had to bet offshore at a lot of places like these, like Bovada or Bet Online or, things like that. And you couldn't really get money on. Your banks wouldn't let you to deposit to these offshore places. So you either had to kind of go to these shady Western unions and wire money in, or at that time in 2017, they all started taking crypto deposits. And so that is actually how I found crypto for the first time. In 2017, I bought my first Bitcoin to deposit onto sports betting websites, and fell down that rabbit hole and never came out. And then in 2018, started creating some content in the space, hosted a podcast around crypto and NFTs and things like that we ran literally up until earlier this year when we started working on Billy. And then in 2021, came into the space full time. My professional background was always in like corporate sales and sales leadership and things like that. And in 2021, came into the crypto space full time. Started a company called Forum 3 with some gentlemen, and our big calling card at Forum 3 was the Starbucks Odyssey Web3 loyalty project. So myself and my team designed and launched that with Starbucks. We advised on the launch of Anheuser-Busch's Web3 loyalty program called Zay, which they launched in Latin America. And during that time is kind of when I fell down the AI rabbit hole. I started using, GPT 3.5 or whatever to edit blog posts and things like that. And then when we were working on Starbucks, that's when the ChatGPT moment came online. And for me, that was such a huge, like, transformational thing. Took me from 0 to 1 on so many things that I'd always wanted to learn, or things that made me more productive. And I was like, okay, well, I need to spend all my time thinking and learning about this now. And so spent the last 2.5 years at this cross section of kind of AI, blockchain, and then sports betting, which is, my passion in all of it. So it's very kind of unique Venn diagram that's led me to this point. I met my co-founder actually back in 2021 when I initially got into the space full time. Him and I had always kind of stayed in touch. And in August of last year, I left Forum 3. They went more of a consulting route. I wanted to go build stuff. And my co-founder, Jared, was already working on Billy. And he kind of picked me up to kind of lead the vision there. And the rest is kind of history.
Yeah, man, it is pretty interesting. So BC Brett, how did you end up over at Billy Bets? I know we've been around the same kind of communities over the last few years. Were you always a big sports bettor or just more interested in AI?
Oh shit, man! No, I don't know anything about sports. Like, I, you know what? I know a hell of a lot more thanks to Bunchu and the team than I did, back in February of this year. You know what I mean? It's no, I've been I mean, we've been out in these streets for a while. I ended up meeting Bunchu, while he was at Forum 3 doing the Starbucks stuff. I was leading Web3 integration and strategy over at PepsiCo, and so we hit up Forum 3, to kind of talk about like what they were doing with Odyssey and like, there's certain products that are sold in Starbucks that are owned by Pepsi. And, so we were trying to find, I was reaching out to all of these different Web3 teams to figure out like, hey, how can we do this quickly? Because corporate moves like molasses, so like, where's the shortcuts, and hopped on a call and, Bunchu and I were kind of like, two golden retrievers that saw each other from across the park. It was just like, oh shit, a DGen. Like somebody that gets this, and it was one of those like, did we just become best friends? Like, yep, and so over the years, just good friends out in the space, always trying to find something to build together, and it was either I was busy doing stuff, with NFT Now or Pepsi, or and then Joe was doing the Starbucks stuff and building an AI, and he hit me up and was like, hey, like, got this idea, you think we could build this? And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's go. I don't see why not. Let's, it's like, at the very least we can try a lot and see what happens, and so over the course of about a month there, that was in January, and it was just grind for that whole first month just to get essentially a basic POC, and from there, it just kind of took off and we started adding more little kind of like, oh, what if it could do this? And like, what if it could do that? And like, holy shit, it's actually very profitable. Like, this is kind of crazy, and it's just evolved now into this absolute beast of multi-agent workflows and betting and all sorts of cool stuff. So it's just been a lot of fun, man. I a long time dev in the space. I just want to build and ship things, and that is, you're not going to find that in any corporate setting for damn sure.
How are you guys thinking like to differentiate yourself? Because obviously it's super crowded market in the US. Like how are you guys kind of going about that process of just like, hey, how can we be different? Obviously we're on crypto rails, but how do we, that might not be enough. How do we create something actually a different experience than what I'm getting on whatever FanDuel or whatever?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's really kind of three, I think, pieces of Billy Bets as a whole that kind of complete the picture of what we're trying to accomplish. So one is obviously like Billy the bettor himself, right? So he is his own agent. He manages a wallet of $100,000, and we've built him a proprietary algorithm that takes in tons of different data points, on-chain data, off-chain odds movements, all kinds of stuff to go out and make a decision on things to bet on. And then he goes out and bets those on crypto sports books, exchanges, Polymarket, overtimebets.xyz, SX Bets, places like that. And then that's like step one. That's the prototype. Then that leads to sourcing that data for people to use and provide actionable alpha, right? So think of it almost like the AI XBT for sports betting. So we have now kind of taken all of that data that we have and have built a full platform for people to come and utilize that data for themselves. And what I think is really cool about what we're doing here is if we're actually giving people the ability to make bets directly through our platform. This is where I think it's a very unique thing that only the cross section of blockchain and AI can do, right? Because these exchanges are permissionless, because the smart contracts are programmable, like we can allow a user to look at our data on our site, make a bet right into one of the platforms that we're integrated with without ever leaving. And that's a really interesting experience. So that allows us to create a really unique experience for a consumer or a sports bettor, that if we can continue to surface, real interesting, actionable data, insights, all of that stuff, they never have to leave. What's also cool about that is we do it in a way where we never touch your funds. We don't ever custody any funds. The wallet that you have on our platform is yours. You can export it. You own the private key. We are merely a pass through into other blockchain exchanges. So then what does that mean, right? Well, the more of these exchanges that we can pipe into permissionlessly means that we can actually then offer a user the ability to make sure that whatever bet they're placing on our platform, you're actually getting the best price on across the whole market. And that's something that literally cannot be done in the traditional sports betting system, right? Like the equivalent of that is an odds screen, which requires you to sit in front of to find an opportunity. And then the average sports bettor, I would say, probably has 2, maybe 3 apps on their phone that they bet through, like a DraftKings, a FanDuel, maybe an MGM, an ESPN, something like that. So if the best price for the bet you want to make that night is on, let's say Caesars, and you don't have a Caesars account, well, there's a lot of friction there. You have to go download an app, create an account, deposit your funds, and get all of that stuff done before the line moves, and then it's no longer the best price. So this idea that we can tap into all these exchanges, allow you to bet from our platform to the best price in the market, and then what that leads to on the thirdly is auto bet, right? So the idea is you can spin up a personalized version of Billy, give it funds to manage on your behalf, just like he's managing his own funds now. Pick the strategies, set your thresholds for bet amounts, the types of things you want, and let him go out and actually execute on your behalf. So those are kind of the 3 big brand promises that we're building towards. And last week, we just soft launched the ability to bet through the platform. So that is live. People can bet. There's a leaderboard. It's a lot of fun. And so shouts to Bread for getting that shipped. But yeah, that's I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here, right? It's kind of extensive that you guys have grown from this initial version. I believe you guys launched as a virtuals project, correct?
Yes. So we are a token on virtuals on Solana for the wink wink time being. And that is, so we launched back in late February, literally right after the NBA All-Star break, and have been there ever since, building, and have come a long way since the initial MVP.
I totally feel you on that from the development side of things. So your users, you mentioned, right? It's some of them that are kind of coming over from, I guess you'd say the Caesar Sportsbook or Circa Sportsbook or whatever, because they want a little bit more of a decentralized aspect of it. So Billy Bets, when it originally took off, or at least when I had originally found it, I think it was in like March, it was on this like crazy streak of just continuously getting a bunch of bets right. I think its initial kind of run was around 60 or 70% or something of that nature. And I know a bunch of handicappers in Vegas, and they tell me that, if you're betting, if your winning percentage is 56%, like you're considered the elite, like you're one of the best in the entire world. But you have this AI that's now surpassing that, on nearly magnitudes. How is that happening? Does this just mean that AI is going to essentially take over? And what type of edges does Billy have on these other handicappers that's allowing them to perform at a much more elite level than the best of the best?
Yeah, that's a great question. So your Vegas sports betting buddies are correct. Like your average, I mean, like your god tier sports bettors are like the folks that make millions of dollars. They're returning anywhere from probably, 5 to 20% ROI. And like that is incredibly, like if you have a 5% edge over thousands and thousands of bets in a certain sport, you can make yourself quite a lot of money, right? And 5% doesn't sound like a lot, but people don't realize in sports betting, that's a compounding 5%, right? So that's a 5% on every dollar you put in play, not I have $100,000 portfolio and there's an annual 5% return, right? So it becomes a game of how often and how fast can you cycle through your bankroll if you have a measurable edge like that, right? And so, yeah, when we started in February, gosh, we started out so hot, and we, have come back to earth on a lot of that, but we still have definitely a measurable edge in a couple different sports. So I'll give you an example. So we actually just launched a brand new proprietary algorithm that we've been betting. We've been betting for today is a whole month that we've been betting this new algorithm, and we've made, gosh, 166 MLB bets, for example, in that month, and we're returning close to 3% ROI on that, right? So that is a really hard thing to do in one of the most mature competitive markets on the planet, right? And it's worth noting, and then some other sports that we're really crushing right now. Tennis, we have an 8% return in. Soccer, we have like a 30% return in right now. We're basically break even in AHL on a small sample size. Golf, we've done really well in. And then basketball is our thing I wish would just nuke off of the face of the earth. We are terrible basketball bettors right now. So just use Billy as a fade machine for the basketball betting for the time being. But, I think to your point, what makes AI really good at this is that we can synthesize and take in a ton of data points. Like if you talk to your buddies who are really, really great sports bettors, they probably specialize in one or two things. And I think the ability for AI to take in all this data across all kinds of sports, across a multitude of different types of data points, and process it really quickly to make a decision. That's the thing that I think AI is going to be really great at, that people are just less, inclined to be able to do. And now everybody's going to have these tools at their disposal, right? So a human is going to be able to use any other AI to do some of these things. But we've got a really unique approach, I think, to how we are building Billy's algorithm that isn't just, hey, I'm going to go build a model that beats the market. It's taking in a lot of, we're building this in a way that we think is optimized for how AI will process data in the future. And so it's kind of this really fun, interesting experiment. And I think like so far the data is playing out, and we'll see if that continues. And if it does, we'll be in kind of pretty good shape.
Interesting. And Chris, if you have any questions, feel free to hop in since you also worked in the same industry.
Yeah, man. A lot. I love the product. I think it's like super necessary, and it feels like a really huge gap in the market. Sports betting is kind of on that same like financial nihilism trend as like meme coin gambling, and just like a huge market globally. I have like so many questions, to be honest, but let's start. Like, how much of it is automated from the start? So the AI has a pick, and then how much of it is automated on the back end, or is it still like manually done through the team?
Yeah, great question. So we're building this to be totally automated, right? So when we first launched, it was completely automated in terms of, hey, Billy kind of wakes up, checks the paper, and can go make his own bets by game time. And now, since we've kind of piped in this new algorithm, it is mostly automated. We are about to finish off the new, like, finishing touches on the automated piece. However, once we kind of finish the loop on that, which is, you know, probably in the next couple of days, it's back to being fully automated. So he is monitoring all of these data points in real time, and then kind of taking that information, and by the end, close to game time, if a bunch of parameters that he's kind of trained upon are being met, he will place a bet. And so Billy's got the final decision essentially on what bets he places and what he doesn't and why, which I think is pretty cool. And so one of the other things that I think is like really powerful about this is if you're an avid sports bettor, you know that like the hardest markets to beat are closest to game time, right? Because the line becomes the most efficient, all the data's in the market, and you've got kind of this very liquid, very hard to beat type of market. And Billy's kind of data, the way we've built this algorithm, is most powerful closest to game time because he's trying to take in all of this information. And so if you're beating, you know, MLB money lines with a 3 to 4% ROI and you're betting at post, like that's a really powerful thing that you've created, right? And so yeah, so like but it's all kind of automated. Like for the most part, we don't know what Billy's betting until he bets it, so,
That's
which
crazy.
is very anxiety driving, to be honest. Like,
you touched on something for sure. I'm assuming it's named after Billy Walters, which is obviously super cool. One of the most legendary sports bettors and gamblers of all time, which is just kind of a dope aside. But and you talked about betting it on post and how he's just kind of completely automated. And you kind of went through the different sports and you kind of described how there's different edges in different sports, and that's kind of cool that you've kind of found your strengths within that. As far as like the business model, where are you looking to actually like make the money? Is it actually betting and the bankroll and riding the bankroll to the highs? Is it taking fees from other bettors? Is it rebates on the back end? Where are you kind of getting the revenue to grow this out?
Yeah, it's actually a great question. So the answer is kind of all of the above, right? So in a perfect world, Billy bets his own book and makes millions of dollars. But we all kind of know how sports betting works. And even when you have an edge today, that doesn't mean you have an edge tomorrow. But I think over time, our data is just going to prove out to be really valuable. And so the betting your own book, so Billy as a bettor, is definitely kind of one route. However, I think the thing that we're building is actually bigger than just Billy betting his own book, right? So the things we've talked about already are if we're able to surface really good, valuable data, valuable alpha, actionable insights, and give people kind of this tool to kind of chat through Billy to help them make a decision and then place a bet on the platform, well, that we can drive a lot of value through that as well. So we would be taking it. We do take a transaction fee for bets placed through the platform. So the more good data we can drive, the more bets will be made through the platform, and there's revenue stream number one. And then two would be kind of this, the auto bet feature. So once people kind of turn on their own version of Billy to manage a fund for them, you would take a fee on something like that as well. So there's a fee side to this. And then I think there's also kind of this like untalked about third way, which is providing Billy's data to other groups or licensing out Billy's API. There's kind of like this business to business piece of this that is there as well. That and also the ability to kind of pass through these transactions to a bunch of different exchanges means that you can manage a ton of volume and liquidity. So we can be partnering with, other betting groups, funds, things like that we're already kind of in talks to, which is, I think, what you've seen some competitors do, but in reverse. They're providing the data for those groups to play. And I think there's actually something even more powerful with what we're building of being able to actually move their bets across these platforms because these hedge funds have to, like, they have runners. They have hundreds of runners that place bets for them all over the country on their own DraftKings books or jamming kiosks and things like that. And if you can provide them a service to get a bunch of money down when you're only taking a 1% fee instead of the 15% they have to pay a runner, well, there's some really attractive things there. So there's definitely like an enterprise solution here. So all of those are kind of the ways that we are going to monetize this.
That makes a lot of sense. We're super pro revenue here. We like a lot of these crypto, sports betting, they're all kind of the same market. You're kind of you're intaking data, you're outputting probabilities, and you're taking your risk and hopefully finding your edge. So our Agent Hustle on Stage, very kind of similar product, AI platform processing a bunch of data from meme coin trenches, just like you would be processing a lot of data from different sports historicals, and just kind of outputting a bunch of data, trying to find the largest edge for the end user. You touched on a pretty cool point, which was just the amount of runners that a lot of these massive sports books have nationwide and countrywide, internationally even, to find the best line. And so how much of the process within Billy Bets is just like line hunting? And how do you have access to so many books that maybe others, it seems, wouldn't? And how would like the average Billy Bets user get access to the best line? Or are you just kind of going at post with just the strongest bet and taking whatever lines you do have available? Or just maybe walk through that process if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think this piece is really, I think, one of the coolest parts about what we're building, which is, and I'm surprised, honestly, it's not like rocket science what we're trying to do here, right? It's the beauty of the blockchain. The beauty of the blockchain is that all of these exchanges and prediction markets and sports books that live on chain are open, meaning they have bettable contracts that all you have to do is be able to tap into them, and you don't even have to be on their platform, right? And so for us, we're basically building an AI powered oracle over all of these books that can direct traffic, right? So like, think of it like the Griffin AI, essentially, where you could come in natural language, say, hey, send this much SOL to my wallet, or buy me this token, right? And what it's doing is it's going out and finding you the best price and placing that transaction. It's the same thing here. And we're just aggregating at the time somebody wants to place a bet, what is the best line of all the places that we have access to. And that can eventually be off chain as well, right? So on chain, obviously, super easy to do from a transparency standpoint. It's permissionless, all this stuff. However, there are like really, really large off-chain sportsbook exchanges and stuff that have bettable APIs as well. So if liquidity ever became like this huge issue, you could tap into some of these sportsbooks like Novig or ProfitX or Sporttrade or Betfair, which are all just like huge exchanges that are P2P. And the more of those that exist, and I think we're headed towards a future where lots of them exist. I think you're going to start to see like US prediction markets. You've seen it kind of happen with Robinhood and sports betting, Kalshi. I think you're going to see much more of that. And as that trend proliferates, we're going to be in really good shape to kind of offer people that as a service. And I just don't think it's kind of been thought about yet in that way because of the way these sports books operate, like historically, as their own publicly traded, huge siloed things. Like nobody's ever going, like DraftKings is never going to route you to FanDuel because there's a better price. It's just never going to happen, right?
That's fire. You guys are crushing it. You have some really good responses to some pretty decent questions. Last one for me, and then we'll kind of pass it around a little bit more. The hardest thing about sports betting a lot of times is like getting paid. Whether you're going through bookies, whether you're going through big exchanges, it's hard to win bets. It's harder to get paid. The blockchain solves some of that, but are you guys like aggregating single accounts to like Bovada and things of that nature, to where there's one account that's processing a bunch of aggregate, maybe like unit bets, but you said that wouldn't be it because you never have access to community members' funds. So how are you getting, like, you're not opening individual accounts for all of these different users, or are you?
Right. So kind of in theory, right? So when you come to Billy Bets, let's say you just log in with your social login or your Google connection or your wallet, whatever the way you want to log into our site, we provision you your own self-custodied Privy wallet that's actually embedded into our site. So when you create an account, you get a EVM compatible wallet, and with, let's say, Polymarket or overtimemarkets.xyz, these are EVM compatible smart contract run exchanges. So you can bet right through them from API calls as long as you have that wallet, right? So let's say you come and bet a line today at Billy Bets, it goes directly to an overtime markets contract. And if you win, when you see your little portfolio, and you'll be able to just automatically claim your winnings from the contract as soon as the bet settles. So really, it's the smart contracts that enable all of this, right? And so I think to your point, I mean, think about all the people that probably still bet through a bookie, right? Or like these offshore like PPHs and things like that. Like those people run the risk of getting stiffed. They're probably and they're still probably paying prices that are bad. They have credit limits that are low, and like smart contracts really solve a lot of this. And I think there's just so little awareness that this really exists. And so I think that's kind of where our biggest opportunity is. And I'm sure from like a technical side, Brad might have a little more to say on just like how that all works. But I think it's literally the beauty of the smart contract that allows us to do all this.
Well, that's my one question is like, we all get kind of marketing to Web3 people, but obviously you want to reach like Web2 people, right? And I think we've seen success with the Courtyard guys because they offer like a Pokemon, opening Pokemon pack type experience. And they've told us, look, they don't even market to Web3. They don't care about Web3. They want to reach Web2 users. So what's your guys' kind of strategy to do that and reach out to like, that massive market?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think like one of the most successful like sports betting software products that exists is OddsJam. And if you've ever, been an average sports bettor, you probably are aware of what OddsJam is. Kind of surfaces a bunch of like plus EV betting opportunities and shows you what books you can arbitrage on and things of that nature. And you get, it kind of points you to where you want to go, and you still have to go make the bet. But my point about OddsJam is it's a place that sources really great profitable info, and the attraction there is, okay, it's kind of done for you. And when I think about like what our opportunity is with Billy, if we're able to really source good actionable sports betting alpha, and give you the ability to place the bet from our site in one spot, and you're getting the best price. And oh, by the way, you could turn this on so it's done for you, and every day you're just coming and checking what you have. There's a really interesting value prop there. And now add in the fact that through a Privy wallet, you don't even have to have a crypto wallet app. You can use our web app right in your Safari browser. You can use it on Chrome. You can use it on desktop. It's totally mobile. And you can, I've literally just started using it for all of my own bets because I know I'm getting a good price and I know the data's been good, right? So it still is like you have to give the best data available, but I almost think of us as kind of like this on-chain OddsJam that like finishes that last mile thing that they can't do in the traditional sports betting system. And don't look now, but OddsJam just got acquired for 160 million by gambling.com. So I think there's like a huge appetite for this. And then how do you attract those people? There's a huge market of just people that buy picks from touts, right? Like Dub Club, for example. Just hundreds and hundreds and thousands of pick sellers that all have thousands of subscribers. and they're largely frauds, and there's no transparency, and there's nothing like that. And so I think like that's the market that we should be going for, because the data is there, it's good, it's done for you, it's all the things a Pix buyer wants. And oh, by the way, like we can make it so you're getting the best of all of it, which is totally a misaligned incentive that exists in the market now. And so for us, it's like, I think we're going to take a lot of the same approaches you see in a sports book, where it's like, hey, come check out Billy Bets today. We're going to fund your wallet with $10. Go find something on our site and make a bet, and we're going to show you how easy it is. And so I think we have a really good shot at capturing some of that crossover.
I'm glad you brought up the kind of Pix dilemma. That's super popular out here in Vegas. When I first started my podcast in 2020, I had this gentleman on my show. His name's Mozzie VS. He's a top sports picker, I guess you'd say, but also has a lot of controversy surrounding those picks. And it turns out, just for people who don't know how this works, like what a lot of these, sports pick sellers do is they'll take a pick and they'll sell it and they'll post about it, but they'll actually take the other side of it as well. So they're taking, a small loss on it, and where they make a lot of their revenue is selling these picks consistently, whether it's like $1,000 a month, sometimes even $10,000 a month. And they'll take, a small 5 or 10% loss on each of these bets and make it back on the back end. So basically what you're saying then is you can basically eliminate that type of fraud and just go straight to essentially the algorithm to sell the pick. Would you do it in like a subscription type manner, or would it be individual picks, or do you have something maybe crypto native that hasn't been explored yet?
No, I think we don't even have to do the pick selling part of it, right? It's the data is there on the dashboard for you to go look at now. So if you went to Billy Bets and looked at our dashboard, you can visualize literally in real time everything Billy is looking at. And we show you, we kind of created this proprietary thing called the Billy Conviction Score. And we show you the records of, hey, here's everything that Billy's bet that has a conviction score of X, Y, or Z. And here are the odds buckets and how he does inside those odds. And basically give you the tools to actually source a good bet. And if that data is good, you can literally just click and place that bet. And there's no need to sell you the pick. We can token gate it, but we don't need to if we're processing the bet there as well, right? Because then it just becomes how good's the data and how many people can you reach and have them placed through your site. And we're already trying to promise you that we're going to get you the best price. So why would you leave at that point?
Yeah, I have been toying around with the dashboard as you've been talking. We do a live stream during this. Is why we're all talking through the same account. But for the bets history, it says here there's been 285 bets. His winning, he has 146 wins, 138 losses, 51.4% win rate, and total P&L is minus 2,000. Average bet $850. So is Billy then, is he placing the amount as well on his own based off of the, I guess you would say, the favorability of the bet?
Yeah, his standard unit is, so we've been basically betting $1,000 a game, except on new markets that we're testing. So like today, he's 4-0 on his tennis plays. They were all half a unit in terms of how big they were. They were $500 bets, which is why you get that kind of under 1,000 average size. And that's since we started this new algorithm. When we started out, we were using like Kelly criterion, and I think our very first bet was like $8,700 on the Pacers like right after the All-Star game. So while we've been testing this out, proving out the data, we're pretty much flat betting. So $1,000 is the standard unit, and then it's either $1,000 bet, $500, or in MMA, I think our unit size while we're testing it, I was like $250. But then, we can scale that up as we prove out all of our data. But yeah, what you're seeing there on the dashboard is kind of his sport. Then you can click in, if you go to like add card, you can see all these cards that come down on the side. You can kind of customize your dashboard. You can see your betting metrics. You can see how he's done by, sport, all the history, all of that kind of stuff. You can see the leaderboards. And so you can kind of start to see like all the different ways we can make this fun. And then you add the token in there for attention and retention and rewards and all of that. And we can kind of create this pretty cool flywheel, I think.
One question, this is coming from a noob who doesn't sport bet, so I have no idea how this sort of thing would work, but does he do any sort of like, managing your stack for you where he places the size like base? Because I mean, I think that's in a lot of like traditional trading. I'm talking about like Wall Street and stuff. Like actual like size management is actually like a really, really important thing. And it's the thing most normies like don't get right at all. Does he do anything like that?
He will, right? So the next version of this product is essentially the Billy auto trade feature, where you'll be able to kind of come to the site, see what he does based on his record and track record on all these different sports, and you'll be able to kind of pick which ones you want him to manage a fund for you. Then you'll be able to fund your wallet and basically set either your own kind of risk limits or things like that, or default to Billy to kind of manage that size for you. But I would say like the way we're planning on it is, say you load in $1,000 and you say, okay, well, based on $1,000, we recommend your unit size should be X. You can override that if you want and set it. And then you can kind of decide, hey, do you want to bet? You want us to use flat staking? Do you want us to use Kelly based on, Billy's recommendation, all that stuff? That is kind of where we're headed with that fund management piece of it.
Yeah, I love that.
There's another piece that we really haven't talked about that I think is really interesting, which is the this ability to chat with Billy. And I think one of the things that's going to make this a really sticky product is, when you come to our site, you log in, you're created a, unique user ID. That unique user ID is tied to, all of your chat history with Billy. So if you go and chat with Billy and you tell him your favorite team is the Yankees and you like to bet home run props, well, he's going to remember that. And so the next time you chat with him, he may tell you about a home run prop or give you, some lines on the Yankees game that day. And that's just in the website. But then imagine you link your Twitter account and you link your Telegram and you link your phone number. And all of a sudden, that experience with Billy travels with you across all of those platforms. And this is what I think is really, really cool about the agent space, because I kind of think of it as agents are the new apps. And what I love about it is it can be proactive, not just reactive. So yeah, you can come to our site and look every day, or you may not want to do that. And you may want to text him on Telegram and ask what he's looking at today. And then from your Telegram, oh yeah, hey, place this bet for me. Oh, and by the way, it remembers your unit size. It remembers your conversation history. It remembers all the things that you like. And then there's a real switching cost there, because you could do all this stuff in one spot. You can carry it all with you. And it's just really convenient.
As you were talking earlier, I was going through the terminal, just talking with him about today's baseball games and asking for pitching ERA and some of the different statistics. It is, really, really interesting. But as you mentioned that AI is the new application, you guys are kind of taking the Billy bets on, I guess you'd say, two levels, right? You're trying to essentially optimize the traditional betting space, through automation, as you'd mentioned, how some people, including my uncle, still bet through bookies, right? So it's still the traditional kind of method. To then this new business that you're mentioning about API services. And I'd love to learn a little bit more on what your vision is for the third-party APIs, as somebody who even, who also operates an agent protocol that looks to partner and use different types of AI third-party services to integrate into our dashboard to interact with Agent Hustle and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'll give you a really easy example is Clutch Markets. They are I think they just launched on Ape Chain, and they're a parlay platform, kind of a smart contract based parlay platform. All they do is parlays. And we just kind of agreed to a partnership with them. It's kind of this two-way street. We're going to integrate their markets and their contracts into the Billy Bet site. So you'll be able to do parlays right from our site. And then on the flip side, we are going to provide them an endpoint to embed Billy as a chat agent, as a research agent into their marketplace, right? So now we kind of have this two-way street of discoverability for Billy on Clutch Market, so another marketplace. Or you can see kind of the big announcement that came out yesterday about Grok and X partnering with Polymarket. And you saw like, oh, you were on Polymarket, you can ask something about Grok to Grok, and it surfaces all of these tweets on it to help you kind of get a sense of sentiment, etc. So similarly, right, like you can see Yahoo Sports. What if there was a chat with Billy button on all their articles, right? And you could kind of, or their fantasy sports pages or things like that. And so that's kind of how I'm envisioning, how you might access third party from Billy. The other piece I could see is like, we're going to have this database of all of our like really valuable data of like, okay, if our stuff keeps winning, we're going to have this like BCS score for all of these games. And you can see it almost working as like Billy as an MCP server, right? Where we could allow people to come and build on top of, build applications kind of on top of our data set, which I think is another potential B2B avenue we can explore down the line as well.
Yeah, I love the MCP. We have a Hustle MCP and have a handful of builders building things from investment AI DAOs that just launched to dog trading strategies on Solana to literally flipping real estate traditionally and flipping domains. So whenever you have the MCP or even like the data itself, I'd be interested in to see if we could collaborate in some way with Agent Hustle and Billy Bets. I think that would be super cool. We do have a lot of users, including myself, who are just generally interested in sports betting, who don't want to participate in kind of the traditional sports betting markets, but like to, take where our edge is in the crypto markets and leverage it, across prediction markets and AI and kind of everything from there. So is that, and are those endpoints available in the MCP, or is that kind of still in development?
No, not yet. That'll still be in development. But we're like, what I love about this is that like each one of these things that we've talked about kind of builds upon itself. Like the fact that we have to build an agent that can look into, all these databases and then go make a bet is a building block for like the platform to be able to do it, which is a building block for, a user to be able to do it in a Telegram chat, which is a building block for us to be able to go offer this as like a third party solution as well. So they're all kind of correlated to each other. So as we get deeper along, the products just kind of keep building themselves as well.
Yeah. Literally, it takes money Legos or crypto's money Legos, and then AI just takes that to the next level. So having like a Billy Bet toolkit inside of the Agent Hustle terminal would be insane. That would be super, super cool.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool, actually.
One final question I have, and then I'll pass it to Adam if he has any more. So as I was using the terminal itself, is he just using the Billy Bet's terminal? Is he just using the APIs that you were providing to him, and then will there ever be a way to talk to him to execute trades through the prompt interface?
Yeah, that's where we're going next. Like the idea is that kind of like I said, you're going to be able to take the chat with Billy to any platform. The ability to bet that way will exist as well, right? So because you can build the ability to just place a bet on the platform through kind of API calls to these smart contracts, you can set it up in which you can be able to do this through natural language. So the idea is, yes, you'll be able to like text a bet to Billy in that terminal chat, but also, like I said before, if you connect a bunch of your other accounts, since they're all tied to that wallet that's tied to that unique user ID, really the ability to bet via any of those platforms will exist, if just through a text message as well.
What's the easiest way for users to just get started? Like, you know, a normie coming in, doesn't know anything about it. What's the easiest way for them to come in?
Yeah, super easy actually. So go to billybets.ai, sign up with whatever your preferred login method is. If it can be as simple as a Google connection, it can be a wallet connect. When you sign up, you will get yourself. You'll actually see the dashboard. You'll see kind of the interface of where all Billy's data lives, and then you'll see your like wallet tab. If you go to your wallet tab, you'll see an option to approve USDC. Once you hit that approve USDC, you'll see your wallet address pop up. You can fund that wallet in a bunch of different ways. You can just send USDC to it from another wallet. You can fund it through Google Pay, Apple Pay, debit card, through the Privy MoonPay integration, or you can send it from another exchange via Coinbase integration. And then once you have funds, you basically go back to that dashboard. You look for bubbles on that map that have a 200 score or higher, and you fire some bets in. And that's how easy it is.
Let's fucking go. Well, Joe, I know you have limited time, so we will wrap it up here. You know, I really appreciate you for coming on, as well as Brad for coming out and hanging out, talking to us about Billy. Would love to continue the conversation in our Telegram chat to see if we can explore some partnerships. Super interested in that. I really appreciate your time, and I'll leave it to you if you have any final statements or anything else that has been unsaid that you'd like to state.
No, I just appreciate the time. I appreciate the interest. I think like what we're trying to build is super cool. It doesn't exist in the world. It is. We're trying to build it in a way that's kind of be optimized for the AI future in which we're headed. And I hope you'll come and check it out. And if you want to, billybets.ai. Also give the man's BC Brett a follow. He is the true, and machine behind what you see us having built already, which is really great. And then you can also follow at Ask Billy Bets. I don't know if we brought him up there, but that's the Twitter account of the agent. And you can see all the bets that he takes there. He'll be back to chirping and shit posting on the timeline any day now as well. So you can give Ask Billy Bets a follow there to get more information.
And everybody, please make sure you're following Bunchu and Bread so that you can stay up to date with Billy Bets. And then also make sure you follow Agent Hustle and Emil Vault that's on stage so you can continue to see what we're cooking up on both sides of the spectrum, and as well as just everyone else on stage. I appreciate everyone that I see in the crowd. We will be back next week on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Until then, everyone have a fun and safe weekend, and we'll see you guys soon. And thank you to Bunchu and Bread.
Later, guys.
Take care.
See you guys.